Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to, really break down complex stuff into things you can actually use. Today, we're tackling something huge in education, this weird paradox where you study loads, but remember, well, not much. Okay, let's unpack this. Are you that student, maybe high school, uni, prepping for some big professional exam, putting in 8, maybe even 10 hours with the books? But then when you actually try to remember what you studied, it feels like, I don't know, maybe 20% stuck. It's super frustrating, right? That feeling of working so hard for basically nothing. And frankly, it means something's off. Like how you're studying just doesn't match how your brain actually learns.
Exactly. And that mismatch, that's what we're zeroing in on today. Our mission here is to pull together all this material that points to a faster, way smarter approach to studying. Some sources even call it the illegal study system. Sounds dramatic, I know, but it's because it's supposedly so efficient. We're digging into methods that claim to triple your effective study speed and massively boost how much you remember, getting you past that 20% wall without burning out completely.
Yeah, and this is crucial for you listening. This isn't just some abstract theory. The sources we've looked at confirm this is actually working for high achievers out there. People tackling incredibly tough exams like the JEE and NEET in India.
The big engineering and medical entrance exams. Massive pressure, huge amounts of material.
Right, and we're seeing examples of students going from basically failing or just being average to scoring 90% plus. And the key thing, they didn't magically find more hours, they changed how they studied.
Exactly the point. Method over just brute force hours.
So let's kick things off with what the material calls the study crisis of 2025. It sounds serious, but it's basically this growing realization that the way most of us were taught to study in school, read, reread, highlight everything, try to memorize, repeat, it's just broken.
Yeah.
It doesn't work well.
It really doesn't.
And it's a huge problem right now because students are just drowning in information. You're juggling maybe your regular school board exams like CBSE or ICSE, plus these huge competitive ones like KCET, JG, NEET.
There's an avalanche of syllabus.
Totally. And you're expected to study like it's a full-time job, give up your social life, somehow keep your sanity. But the tools they give you are basically from the dark ages.
You're putting in the work, definitely. But the system itself, the traditional approach, is almost fighting against you, making you inefficient.
So what's the science say? Why is it broken?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about lack of effort. It's more like a cognitive conflict. The material is really clear on the neuroscience side of things. Your brain just doesn't learn well when you try to force feed it passively, like just reading over and over. It actually builds memories through specific active engagement. Things like strategic repetition, actively pulling information out, spacing out your learning.
Retrieval, right.
Exactly, active recall. And understanding these basic mechanics of your own brain, how your memory actually works, that's what gives you the power, the potential to maybe cut your study time in half, maybe even more, while actually remembering more.
Okay, so if the old way is broken, we need to ditch the bad habits. Let's bust some myths. Myth number 1. Studying longer means you learn more, simple, right? More hours, more learning.
False. Completely false. And what's fascinating here, if you look at the science, is this thing called the ultradian rhythm. It sort of dictates your natural focus cycles. Your brain is really optimized for intense focus for about, say, 45 to 90 minutes.
Okay.
Tops.
Okay.
Once you push past that window, without a proper break, like a real mental reset, you're kind of crossing a line. That extra time, it's not deep learning anymore. It's, well, some call it book sitting.
Book sitting. I like that. I've definitely done that.
We all have. You're there, the book's open, but your mind is just elsewhere. You're retaining basically zero. It feels like work, but it's mostly wasted effort.
Okay. Painful but true. What about myth number 2? This one feels so productive. Highlighting and underlining means I've understood it.
Yes. The classic, also absolutely false. And this is where students waste so much time. Highlighting basically just tickles the brain's recognition system.
Yeah.
So later, when you look at that yellow line, your brain goes, oh yeah, I've seen that before.
Familiarity.
Exactly. It mistakes that feeling of familiarity for actual understanding or retrieval, but you never forced your brain to pull the information out from scratch. And that retrieval part is the only way to really cement the memory.
So it's like fake progress. Feels good, does nothing long-term.
Precisely. Short-term boost, zero long-term gain.
All right, myth number 3. To beat the competition, especially in things like JG or NEET, you just have to outstudy everyone, put in more hours than the next person.
Nope, not true at all. The data we looked at actually shows the opposite sometimes. High achievers, the real toppers, often spend less total time studying than average students.
Really?
Yeah. The difference isn't the hours, it's the system. They're just way more efficient. They're, say, 5 hours of focused, science-backed study is worth way more than someone else's 12 hours of just passive reading and highlighting.
Okay, so we've thrown out the old model. It's inefficient, based on myths. What does the science actually say works? What are these pillars for faster learning?
Right. This is the foundation, built on solid cognitive science. If you want that 3x speed increase everyone talks about, these 5 pillars are, well, non-negotiable according to our sources. First up, and this is the big one, active recall.
We mentioned this, pulling it out of your brain.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just looking at your notes or the textbook, you actively try to remember the information without looking. Think of memory like carving a path in your brain. Passive reading is like lightly scratching the surface. Active recall, that's like taking a chisel and digging that path deeper every single time you do it.
It feels harder, though.
Yeah, it is harder. That effort, that mental strain, that's what strengthens the connections. The science suggests it's up to 5 times more effective than just passively rereading something.
Okay. I challenge anyone listening. After this segment, try to summarize what we just said without rewinding. That little struggle. That's the feeling.
That's the learning happening. Exactly.
Oh.
Okay, pillar number 2, spaced repetition. This directly tackles why cramming is so useless long-term. You know the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve? We forget things exponentially fast.
Yeah, stuff just disappears.
Right. Cramming crams information into short-term memory, which decays super quickly. Spaced repetition fights this by scheduling reviews at specific increasing intervals. Like you learn something today, review it tomorrow, then maybe in 3 days, then a week, then 2 weeks. This strategic spacing basically signals to your brain, hey, this info is important, hang on to it.
Yeah.
It systematically pushes it into long-term storage.
So less frequent review overall, but timed perfectly.
Precisely. Strategic timing beats sheer volume. Pillar 3, interleaving. This one often feels counterintuitive to students.
Okay, what's interleaving?
Instead of blocking, like studying all of Chapter 1 until you think you've mastered it, then moving to Chapter 2, interleaving means mixing things up. You might study, say, a bit of calculus, then switch to some physics problems, then be back to a different type of calculus problem, all within one study session.
Whoa, okay. That sounds chaotic. Especially if you're already feeling behind. Won't that just confuse you more?
That's the common reaction. It feels harder initially, but it improves 2 critical skills that exams test constantly. First, it helps you differentiate between similar concepts. Second, it forces you to practice choosing the right method or formula for a given problem, because they're all jumbled up, which is exactly what real exams do.
Ah, okay. So the chaos is actually training for the real test conditions. How do you manage it without getting totally overwhelmed?
Good question. It links back to keeping study sessions focused and relatively short, like those 45, 90-minute blocks. You're not switching topics every 5 minutes. It's more like dedicate 30 minutes to topic A, then 30 minutes to topic B, and then maybe do a practice set that mixes problems from both A and B.
Yeah.
That initial struggle, that feeling of difficulty, that's actually a sign that deeper, more flexible learning is happening.
Okay, makes sense. What's pillar 4?
Pillar 4 is the Feynman technique. We touched on this, but it's powerful. The core idea. Can you explain a concept simply, like really simply, as if you were teaching it to a 10-year-old?
Your jargon.
Absolutely no jargon. If you find yourself using complex terms you can't break down, or you stumble and get vague, bam, you've just instantly found a gap in your own understanding. It makes your knowledge gaps totally obvious.
I love that. It forces you to actually process it, not just recognize keywords, turns understanding into something you can actually measure by explaining it.
Exactly. And finally, pillar number 5. Deliberate practice. This isn't just doing practice problems, it's elevating that practice. Deliberate practice means focused, structured effort, targeted specifically at the areas where you know you're weak.
So not just doing the next problem in the chapter.
Definitely not. Yeah. It requires you to rigorously track which problems you got wrong or struggled with, understand why, and then make a specific plan to reattempt those specific types of problems later. It's about targeted improvement, not just mindless repetition.
Okay, so those 5 pillars, active recall, spaced repetition, interleaving, Feynman, deliberate practice, they're like the engine. Now let's talk about the vehicle. The Spark method itself. Our sources frame this as a practical 5-step system designed to basically kickstart your brain into this faster learning mode.
Right. It integrates all those principles into a workflow.
Let's walk through it. Step 1, Pre-study preparation. This is just 5 minutes before each study session. But honestly, I think we need to spend a bit of time here because everyone skips it.
Oh, absolutely. It's the biggest bottleneck. The material really hammers this home. Skipping these 5 minutes up front, it often costs you a full hour of effective study later. Why?
Why?
Because you spend that hour just fighting distractions, trying to get focused, figuring out what you're even supposed to be doing. This prep stage prevents all that. It has 4 quick parts. A, clear your environment, physically and digitally. Clear desk, yes, but maybe more importantly, close those browser tabs, put the phone on silent, and actually out of sight.
Out of sight is key, not just face down.
Definitely. A cluttered space, visual or digital, equals a cluttered mind. Minimize that friction. B, set a clear, specific goal, not just study math. That's useless.
Too vague.
Way too vague. Be specific, like, okay, in this session, I will understand and solve 10 integration problems using the substitution method. It's measurable. It gives you a finish line for that block of time. Focuses you.
Makes sense.
C, pre-read or prime, just 5 minutes. Skim the chapter summary, read the intro paragraph, or maybe watch a quick 5-minute YouTube video explaining the core concept. This builds like a mental framework, a scaffold. So when you start reading the details, your brain already has a place to slot that information. Makes the actual reading way faster, maybe up to 3x faster, according to some sources.
I'll be prepping the ground before planting the seeds.
Good analogy.
Oh.
And D, write down maybe 3 questions you want to answer during the session, like what is integration, why does this method work, when should I use it? This flips you from being a passive reader into an active searcher. Your brain is now looking for answers, which makes the learning stickier when you find them. It sparks curiosity.
Okay, 5 minutes, 4 steps. Clear space, specific goal, prime the brain, ask questions. Seems doable.
Totally doable, and the payoff is huge. Now, step 2, active learning with the Feynman technique. This is your main 30 to 45-minute focus block. This is where the active retrieval really happens. It breaks down like this. A, read for about 15 minutes. Just read. Focus only on understanding. Resist that urge to highlight.
No highlighter allowed.
No highlight. Tell yourself, I'm just gathering info now. I'll test myself in a minute. B, then immediately close the book. And for the next 3 to 5 minutes, explain the concept out loud. Simplify it. No jargon.
This is the Feynman test.
This is the moment of truth. If you were studying, say, kinetic energy, don't recite the textbook definition. Say something like, okay, it's the energy things have when they move. Faster they go, or heavier they are, the more energy.
Right.
If you stumble, if you can't simplify it, you've found a gap.
Right there. Instant feedback.
Instant feedback. C, now you go back to the book, but only for about 10 minutes. And here's the key. You only reread the specific bits you couldn't explain simply.
Targeted rereading, not the whole chapter again.
Exactly. Surgical strike. Fix the weaknesses. Don't waste time on what you already know. D, finish this block by making, say, 5 to 10 flashcards. But crucially, write questions on the front, not just terms. What is the substitution method? Not substitution method.
Why the question format?
Because it forces your brain into that retrieval mode.
Yeah.
It trains the exact mental action you'll need in the exam, seeing a cue, and retrieving the answer. Copying definitions is passive. Writing questions is active prep.
Got it. So read, explain, fix gaps, make question flashcards. That's the core loop.
That's the core active learning loop. Now, step 3. This is crucial for long-term memory. Implement the spaced repetition schedule. This is where most students fail. They study something once, maybe twice, and then it's gone. This system makes sure it moves to long-term storage. It eliminates cramming.
So how does the schedule actually work?
The standard recommendation is pretty straightforward. Day Yos is when you first learn it using step 2. Then you review those flashcards or concepts briefly on day 1, again on day 3, again on day 7, and maybe a final review around day 14.
So Monday learn it, Tuesday quick review, Thursday review, next Monday review, then 2 weeks later.
Exactly. The intervals get longer. The key insight, again, is efficiency. You're actually studying the same thing fewer times than if you just drilled it every day.
Right. But the timing makes the difference.
The strategic timing forces your brain to work harder to retrieve it as the interval grows, strengthening the memory each time. It maximizes consolidation during the off days.
Okay, that makes sense. On to step 4, interleaving and problem solving. Another 30-45-minute block focused on applying the knowledge, right, like exam practice.
Precisely. This is training for the real thing. We talked about interleaving, mixing different topics or types of problems. This block is where you do it. Don't just do 10 problems of the same type in a row. That trains pattern matching, not real problem solving.
Because the exam won't present them neatly ordered.
Never. It'll be a mix. So dedicate part of this session to solving a mixed set. maybe some calculus, some algebra, some physics, all jumbled together. It forces your brain to switch gears, identify the problem type, and select the right strategy.
And how should you actually approach the problems within that block?
There's a specific flow recommended. First, try the problem without looking at notes or examples. Give it a solid go for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Let yourself struggle a bit that's important.
Embrace the struggle.
Yes. If you're genuinely stuck, then look at a similar solved example. Understand the process, the logic. Then immediately put the example away and try the original problem again.
Okay. What if you're still stuck after seeing an example?
Then, okay, look at the solution to the original problem, but don't just copy it. Focus on understanding the why. What was the key insight or step you missed? And this is crucial. Mark that problem. Tag it somehow as weak.
And why mark it?
Because you need to come back to it. Reattempt that specific problem tomorrow or the day after. That's the deliberate practice component, targeting and revisiting your weaknesses.
Gotcha. So, struggle. Use examples sparingly, understand the why, mark weaknesses, and revisit.
You got it. And finally, step 5. Teach someone else. Just 10 minutes. But this is like the final sealant for the memory.
Explain it again.
Yeah. But this time to another person. A friend, a parent, your long-suffering sibling. Even your pet, apparently. The act of teaching forces you to organize all those bits of information into a clear, coherent story. It demands you structure your thoughts.
It'll expose any last hidden gaps you missed, even with the Feynman technique earlier.
Exactly, and it builds massive confidence. If you can explain it clearly so someone else gets it, you truly own that knowledge. It cements it in long-term memory like nothing else.
Okay, that SPARK method sounds powerful, but honestly, keeping track of that spaced repetition schedule manually sounds like a nightmare.
It absolutely is. Trying to juggle review times for hundreds of concepts across multiple subjects, forget it. Thankfully, technology comes to the rescue here. There are some great tools that make implementing Spark way more practical.
What's the top recommendation for that spaced repetition piece?
Hands down, Anki, A-N-K-I. It's a flashcard app, but it's incredibly smart. And it's free.
How does it work?
It uses a sophisticated algorithm based on spaced repetition science. You make your flashcards, like in step 2, and then you review them daily. When you review a card, you tell Anki how easy or hard it was for you to recall. Based on your answer, Anki automatically schedules the next time you'll see that card.
Ah, so it does the scheduling for you.
Perfectly. Easy card, you might not see it for weeks. Hard card, it'll pop up again tomorrow or even later the same day. It automates step 3 completely.
And you mentioned pre-made decks.
Yeah, huge time saver. Especially for big exams like JEE and NEET, communities often create and share massive decks covering the entire syllabus. You can download them and get started reviewing immediately.
Okay, Anki for spaced repetition. What about just general organization, tracking goals, weak topics, notes?
For that, a lot of high achievers mentioned in our sources seem to love Notion.
Notion, right? It's like a digital workspace.
Yeah. Exactly. It's super flexible, also free for personal use. You can use it to track those specific goals you set in step 1, keep a running list of concepts you tagged as weak in step 4, even build out your Feynman explanations, step 2.
Basically keeps everything in one place so your brain doesn't have to.
Precisely. Reduces that cognitive load. Now, for actually doing the Feynman explanations, a simple but effective hack is the Feynman notebook hack. You don't need fancy software. Just use Google Docs or any plain text editor. Create a document for each subject or major topic. And commit to actually writing out those simple, explain it to a 10-year-old summaries after each learning block.
Why writing instead of just thinking it through?
The physical act of writing forces more clarity. It slows you down just enough to really process and structure the explanation, making the gaps more obvious than just trying to articulate it mentally.
Okay, makes sense. What about tracking time? You mentioned that book sitting issue, thinking you're studying when you're not.
Right, the consciousness gap. This is where a tool like Toggle Track comes in. Again, it's free and really simple.
Just a time tracker.
Yeah, but use it diligently for like 1 week. Track every single minute you intend to spend studying math, physics, whatever. Just hit start and stop. The data you get back is often a huge wake-up call. You think you did 8 hours, but Toggle shows maybe only 4 hours of actual focused time logged. Seeing that gap objectively is a powerful motivator to be more intentional with your Spark sessions.
Confronting the brutal truth. Okay. And you mentioned YouTube for priming in step one.
Yeah, YouTube is fantastic for that initial conceptual overview. Before diving into a dense textbook chapter, spend 5–10 minutes watching a video on the topic. Channels like 3 Blue 1 Brown for math intuition, Khan Academy for structured lessons, even Kurzgesagt for big science concepts. They prime your brain wonderfully, makes the textbook reading feel less like hitting a wall.
Preloads the concepts.
Exactly. And lastly, there's often mention of a premium option, Brilliant.org.
Right, the interactive learning site.
Yeah. It focuses on math, science, computer science. It's a subscription, so it's not free. But its strength is the interactive nature. Instead of just watching or reading, you're actively solving problems, manipulating concepts. It gives instant feedback, which really aligns with deliberate practice and active recall principles. Good for building intuition, especially for STEM subjects. We should note, impartially, that you can often find affiliate codes if you look around.
Okay, so Anki, Notion, a simple text editor, Toggle Track, YouTube, and maybe Brilliant as an extra, a solid toolkit.
All right, so you've got the Spark method, you've got the tools. Sounds great, but this raises an important question. Where do students typically mess this up? Why do people know about these better methods but still struggle to actually do them consistently?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? The execution. It feels like more effort up front sometimes, maybe. Active recall feels harder than just rereading. Explaining things forces you to admit you don't know stuff.
That's a huge part of it, the resistance to discomfort. So let's pinpoint the most common mistakes that derail people trying to switch to Spark. Mistake, #1. Skipping the 5-minute pre-study prep. We keep coming back to this, but it's critical.
The first thing to get cut when time feels short.
Exactly. Students want that instant gratification of just opening the book. They skip setting a goal, skip priming the brain. And the result, that first hour is basically wasted flailing around, mentally speaking. Huge efficiency killer.
Okay, don't skip prep. What's next?
Mistake, #2. Falling back on highlighting. Even if they know about active recall, the moment they feel that mental strain, that discomfort, the highlighter comes out.
It's like a safety blanket.
It is, but it's fake progress. You have to actively resist it, maybe even hide your highlighters. The goal is to force retrieval from memory, not recognition from the page.
Tough love. Okay, mistake, #3.
Mistake, #3. Sticking with blocking instead of interleaving. Studying Chapter 1 over and over until you feel 100% confident before daring to look at Chapter 2.
Feel safer, right? Master one thing at a time.
It feels safer, but it builds fragile knowledge. It doesn't prepare you for the mixed-up nature of exams. You have to embrace interleaving and spaced repetition. Introduce new topics relatively quickly, keep reviewing old ones strategically using Anki, and most importantly, practice with mixed problem sets.
Get comfortable with that feeling of juggling different concepts.
You have to. Mistake, #4. Only solving textbook problems, usually in order. Textbook problems are designed for practice, often ordered by difficulty or type. They help you learn the steps. But previous year's exam papers, that's training for the real conditions.
Different purpose.
Totally different. If you only do textbook problems, you're training your brain to expect predictability. Real exams demand you jump between concepts instantly. So prioritize mixed sets and actual past papers.
Okay. What else trips people up?
Mistake, #5, sacrificing sleep. This is a massive one, especially in high-pressure exam cultures.
The I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality.
Exactly. And it completely undermines the entire Spark system, actually all learning. Sleep isn't just rest. It's when your brain does its crucial memory consolidation. While you sleep, your brain is literally transferring memories, the things you studied, from short-term storage, like the hippocampus, to long-term storage, the neocortex. Routinely getting only 4 or 5 hours. You might as well be pouring half your study effort down the drain. You need 7–8 hours minimum. Non-negotiable.
Sleep is part of the study process, not something that takes away from it.
Absolutely. And quickly, mistake #6 is studying without that specific goal we talked about in prep leads to drifting. And mistake #7 is skipping the teach someone else's step, leaves knowledge less organized and less cemented.
Okay, so avoid those pitfalls. But let's connect this back to the promise. Does this stuff actually work? We need some proof, some real stories.
Right, because the methods sound good, but the transformations highlighted in the source material are pretty compelling. And they seem to hinge on methodology, not just genius. Let's take a man's JEE story. Typical situation. 12th grader, stuck in that 10-hour-a-day traditional steady grind. Math mock scores were hovering around 60%. Feeling pretty hopeless about qualifying.
What changed?
He switched to Spark. But here's the kicker. He didn't study more. He actually dropped his total study time to about 5 focused hours a day. But he executed the Spark system rigorously.
What were the key changes in how he studied?
Okay, specifically, he stopped blocking topics. He started using Anki religiously for every important formula and concept that's active recall and spaced repetition. He made sure to do mixed problem sets, daily interleaving, and deliberate practice. And crucially, he committed to explaining the concepts he learned each day to his younger brother. That's the Feynman Teach step.
And there
Within 3 months, his stress levels dropped, his mock scores climbed steadily to the 85% range. And in the actual GG exam, he scored 92% in math and got into a top institute, IT Delhi. The system brought efficiency and predictability.
Wow. Okay, that's compelling. What about another example, maybe for NEET?
Sure, let's look at Priya's NEET journey. Her big challenge was the sheer volume, especially in biology. Classic case of studying for hours, but only retaining about 20%. Overwhelmed.
How does she apply Spark?
She went all in. Used short pre-study videos to prime before reading, step 1. Did the Feynman explanation aloud right after her reading block, step 2. Dedicated 15 minutes every single day just to reviewing her Anki decks, step 3. Critically, she only practiced using mixed question sets from previous NEET papers, step 4. And she joined a small study group where they took turns teaching each other concepts each week, step 5.
Did she feel like she was studying less?
Initially, yeah, there was that skepticism, but it vanished quickly when she saw the results. Within about 2 months, her ability to recall complex biological processes jumped from that initial 20% over 80%.
Yeah. 80% retention, that's huge.
Massive. And that efficiency directly translated to her score. She got 650 in NEET and was accepted into Ames Delhi. These aren't magic. They're the result of applying cognitive science systematically.
Okay, those stories really drive it home. Before we move to Q&A, any quick bonus hacks, things beyond the core 5 steps?
Yeah, a few quick ones for extra speed or efficiency. First, try optimizing your focus blocks with the 25-25-5 study cycle.
What's that?
Intense study for 25 minutes. Then take a real fun break for 25 minutes, get away from your desk, walk, music, whatever. Totally disconnects you. Then come back for just 5 minutes to do a rapid active recall review of the 25 minutes you just studied. Uses focus cycles, prevents burnout, reinforces memory.
Interesting rhythm. What else?
Maximize accountability. A small study group, like 2 or 3 people serious about the same goal. Incredibly powerful. Meet regularly, commit to teaching each other parts of the syllabus. Mandatory step 5 execution.
Built-in teaching.
Exactly. Third, really analyze those last 10 years' question papers. Don't just use them as mock tests right at the end. Study them early. Look for patterns. Which concepts keep appearing? Focus your Spark efforts disproportionately on those high-yield areas. Smart allocation of time.
Work smarter based on past data.
Right. And a final simple one. Record yourself. Use your phone voice memo app when you do the Feynman explanation, step 2 or 5. Then listen back to it the next day, maybe while commuting or exercising. Hearing yourself explain it, even the pauses and mistakes, is another powerful way to reinforce the memory trace.
All right, let's wrap up with some quick questions we often hear, things you listening might be wondering right now as you think about trying this.
Yeah, let's tackle those practical concerns.
Okay, first one. This sounds great, but how long until I actually see a difference? When do the results show up?
You should feel a difference, better focus, slightly better recall pretty quickly, maybe within 2 to 3 weeks, if you're consistent with the core Spark steps daily. But for those really big transformations like Emma's jump from 60% to 90%, that takes consistent application over time. Think more like 3 to 6 months to really rewire your study habits and see significant score increases. Patience and consistency, especially with the spaced repetition, are key.
Okay, 3 to 6 months for major changes. Q. What if I'm incredibly busy? School, job, life. I just don't have multiple 45-minute blocks. Is there like a minimum viable Spark?
Absolutely. If time is really tight, focus ruthlessly on the core loop. Prep, active learning, Feynman, and spaced review. You could potentially condense this, maybe. 3 minutes for pre-study prep, set goal, ask questions. 20 minutes intense active learning using the Feynman technique. Read a small chunk, explain it, identify gaps. And 5 minutes dedicated purely to review your Anki flashcards for spaced repetition. That's 28 minutes.
28 minutes. Okay, that feels manageable even on a busy day.
Exactly. Start there if you have to. Do that consistently and scale up when you can. It's better than 0 minutes of effective study.
Right. Q, coaching material versus textbooks. There's so much stuff. Which should I prioritize?
The advice from the sources suggests using both, but strategically. Think of coaching materials as excellent for giving you the filtered, high-yield concepts and maybe a basic structure great for step 1 priming. But textbooks often provide the deeper context, the nuances, the why behind the concepts. which you need for tackling trickier application-based questions. So maybe coaching for the what, textbook for the why, and deeper understanding needed for Step 2 Feynman.
Use them synergistically. Okay, Q. How does this apply to subjects that aren't science or math? Like history, literature, languages? There aren't really problems to solve.
The underlying principles are universal. Active recall and teaching still apply perfectly. For history, don't just read. Create timelines from memory. Explain the cause and effect of major events out loud, as if teaching someone. Use Anki for dates, key figures, event significance. For literature, explain themes, character arcs, symbolism without looking at notes. Record yourself analyzing a passage. Teach the plot and its meaning. For languages, active recall is essential for vocabulary, Anki. Speaking grammar rules and conjugations aloud mimics teaching. Force yourself to construct sentences actively.
So adapt the method, recall, explain to the content.
Exactly. The core brain mechanisms are the same.
Last question. Okay, I'm listening to this feeling inspired, but oh crap, I'm already like 2 months behind schedule for my big exam. Isn't it too late to start this slower, more deliberate method now? Shouldn't I just cram?
No, absolutely not. Being behind is actually an advantage for starting Spark now.
How is being behind an advantage?
Because you haven't wasted those 2 months cementing inefficient passive study habits. You get to start fresh with the superior method right away. While you're catching up on content using Spark, you'll be learning and retaining it maybe 3 times more effectively than peers using traditional read and highlight methods. You'll actually close that gap faster because your learning rate per hour will be so much higher. Use Spark as your secret weapon to catch up intelligently. Don't panic and cram.
Okay, great perspective. So let's quickly recap the core science here. It's all about active recall, spaced repetition, interleaving, using the Feynman technique to check understanding, and deliberate practice on weaknesses.
Yep, those are the engines. And they power the 5 steps of the Spark method. Pre-study prep, active learning Feynman, the spaced repetition schedule, likely using Anki, interleave problem solving, and finally, teaching someone else.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with today. It's a bit provocative. You listening right now, you already have the brain power. You have the raw ability to crush any of these challenging exams. Your brain is basically a supercomputer designed to learn incredibly fast if you give it the right instructions, the right input method.
The only thing truly holding you back, according to everything we've synthesized today, isn't your intelligence or your potential. It's the method. It's using outdated software on amazing hardware.
So our challenge to you is this. Just try it for 1 week. Commit to doing that 5-minute pre-study prep before every study session. Download Anki today, it's free, and start putting your key concepts in there. Just focus on that core loop for 7 days.
See how it feels. The material strongly suggests that if you take this system and apply it consistently, day in, day out for the next 3 to 6 months, you could realistically expect to boost your scores by 20–30%, maybe cut your total study time in half, and actually achieve that goal you're aiming for, that dream college, that certification, whatever it is.
Stop studying harder with broken tools. Start studying smarter with methods backed by science. That's our deep dive for today. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep sparking.